3-day tournament. We're ready to go. We're excited to be here. If you ask any of our guys, they'll tell you the same. And I'm not even speaking for them. We're ready to roll.
Tom Ryan of Ohio State.
Great to be representing the Buckeyes here again. Sitting up here with a guy at the end that I grew up watching, and then a guy that I had the blessing to wrestle with, and then a guy that I wish was on my team as a coach, a fellow Long Islander. So I'm up here with a great group of people, great group of men, and collectively, I know I mentioned something last year, but collectively we have 3 gold medals. We have 9 world titles and 9 NCAA titles, so it's good to be with this group. We are ready to wrestle. We're excited about it, and look forward to a great weekend here.
Cale Sanderson of Penn State.
Yeah, we're excited to be here just like everybody else, and we will find out in the next 3 days if our team's ready to go or not. But we're grateful for the opportunity. Thanks.
Brian Smith of Missouri.
Excited it's in Missouri. I mean, this is the 8th time it's been in this building. I think this year Tom would agree with me. Being on the committee and the seating and the process that goes into running this tournament, that I was here in the fall, and the people, collectively the people that put the time into this event, it's amazing to me, and I thank the Sports Commission in St. Louis and all the people from the NCAA for what they do. This is an amazing event.
And John Smith of Oklahoma State.
As Coach Smith was saying, the Sports Commission here really creating an atmosphere for the student athlete. It's really of course, you're a lot more happier if you're winning, but just the environment for the student athlete and how they go out of their way to kind of create a great environment has been really good for a lot of years. So as far as our team, we're ready. We look forward to the NCAA championships, and as we know, it's going to be a very competitive tournament.
We'll open it up for questions, please.
Garrett Carr, Black Sheep Diaries. This is for Coach Sanderson. Coach, with the news that Nick Sirianno is not going to wrestle and that kind of being over, can you give us kind of a timeline of, from the injury of Oklahoma State and what you guys were thinking at various times of his likelihood of being able to wrestle this weekend, and then, when ultimately was the decision made, and why did the decision go that way?
Yeah, well, we were trying to give him as much time as possible, and it was going to be a day before type of decision, and we were trying to get him to a point where he would be competitive enough to compete and to protect himself, and I don't feel like he's in that position, so he's not going to wrestle.
This is Mike Pinter-Wynn. This is a question for all the other coaches. With Sirianno being injured, it's obviously an impact on this tournament. And is it just something that is part of the sport? Is there anything that would be done with the season? They've talked about making this a one-semester sport, that type of thing. Should there be a limited number of matches to prevent this from happening? Is it simply a wear and tear?
We'll start with Tom Brands here and move our way down the table.
I mean, wear and tear, that's maybe part of the sport. I don't maybe look at it like that so much. I think in this case, and knowing who Nick Sirianno is, we recruited him. I think he gets ready to go, and I think sometimes bad things happen to good wrestlers. It's unfortunate, and he'll deal with it going forward. I would speak for him on that, I suppose. Not guessing his mindset. I'm sure he's not in the best spirits right now, but we know he's a competitor.
Tom Ryan.
Yeah, no, the sport is certainly grueling. The season is long, but I think that as long as I've been in the sport, we've had student athletes get injured the first day of practice. We've had athletes get injured in competition. Midway through the season, we dealt last year with Hunter Stieber being hurt most of the year. It's hard on the team. It's hard on the individual. It's hard on the family. Like Tom, we recruited Sirianno. He's got a great family. You feel for them, but he's a winner, I'm sure, and it's just a tough situation.
Next, Cale Sanderson.
poor Nick, everyone, it's a press conference about him. Yeah, and, you know, you get hurt, injuries happen, life happens, right? But life is good, and life's good. Nick has a lot to be grateful for. He has 3 years to terrorize college wrestling and international wrestling after that. So, you know, it is what it is. He got injured. It happens, and life goes on.
Brian Smith.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the win for the season is the answer. I lost a 2-time All-American in the second duel this year for the season. So I think with the training and the knowledge of training that goes on now, and the nutritionists and the strength coaches we have, these athletes are more prepared than I know when I was back wrestling. So I think it's just unfortunate. It's a tough sport, and I feel for Nick and what happened with him, but it's a part of our sport.
And John Smith.
They said enough. So, you know, just sometimes we might think that our sport's grueling. There's a lot of sports that are grueling and tough. And so we've all lost guys in February that didn't wrestle in nationals, and it is unfortunate. But just kind of what Kale said, it's part of sport. Life's good. Keep going.
Nate Coblin with the Center Daily Times. Coaches, all of you guys can answer this. I know the NWCA Dual Championship Series has come under some scrutiny, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think another wrestler last year got injured in those series, and the same thing happened this year. But can you guys talk a little bit about, you know, what maybe could be done with that to where, you know, an unfortunate event like this would happen?
We'll start with Tom Branson and make our way down the table. Tom.
Here's the thing with the national duels. It's maybe a good event. Maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit more. I'm a big fan of dual meets. Dual meets are important. Just not sure that our format's the best. But I do know the impact that big marquee matchups have. And a lot's been said about Penn State, Oklahoma State in Stillwater at the end of February. That was a big event. That was a big duel. That was a big crowd. And that's important. But I also think that timing could maybe be better. And it's going to be discussed a lot. There's a lot on the agenda for the national duels. Is the NCAA going to take it up and make it part of the team scoring, team component? Where dual meets actually bring in points to this tournament, that's going to be discussed. That's not too far away, so be a lot more information going forward after this tournament.
Tom Ryan.
Obviously, I'm a strong proponent of the adding value, greater value to dual meets. It's challenging. There's a lot of moving parts to it. But I do believe that somehow we've got to continue to be creative in the sport, to grow it, to increase our fan base. And I personally believe that the dual meet is the way to do that. A lot of great things happened this year. 42,000 people in Iowa City went to a duel. Penn State selling out. We had 16,000 people to dual meet. So we know that they have great value. The question is, how do you add a season-ending value to a dual meet? I think that's the big question. So, and how do you add a sting, a greater sting to a loss during the season rather than what it is? It's a loss that to some degree plays no role at all in the national championship. So going forward, I'd like to see us solve this problem as a sport.
Kale Sanderson.
What are we talking about? National duels?
National duels.
I don't really want to talk about national duels. I think numbers speak for themselves, and this was by far, it's got to be the best. Well, Iowa kind of messed that up by having a 40-something thousand, dual meet. But overall, I think dual meet-wise, big duels, this has got to be the best year in the history of college wrestling, right? And so the sport's growing. Dual meets are important to our fans. They're important to us as coaches. They're important to the student athletes who participate in them. And I think, we agree on a lot of things. I think it's important for the future of the sport, to keep those dual meets. But getting bigger and bigger and getting them on TV, and that's what's happening right now. So just keep rolling.
Brian Smith.
Yeah, I'm a proponent for the duels. I really like seeing the growth of it. I was watching a couple duels down in Oklahoma State in the crowds, and at Iowa. I know in our place, our fan base continues to grow, so I think it's important just because of the team concept that it brings, and people coming in for a 2-hour event that's made for TV, that we have to keep growing it.
And John Smith.
I think what Cale said, just from the standpoint, it was a great year. I mean, just everywhere was real successful, and sometimes we think everything's going wrong when actually it's going right. If we can't make a decision on dual meets between the coaches, then it needs to be taken out of our hands, So I think in the future, maybe we shouldn't be making these decisions of what we're doing, if we can't agree. And I think we can find, pretty mutual agreement if some common sense is made, and it may not help my team, but in the long run to continue to grow the sport and continue to create exciting dual meets, that's what needs to happen. And if we can't get it done, then hopefully somebody will.
Further questions about this particular championship event, please.
Mark Jolkover with Flow Wrestling. This question's for Coach Brands. You guys had the #1 recruiting class coming through, and this is your seniors now after 5 years. Talk a little bit about the impact those guys have had on your program and what you'd like to see, obviously, as they finish their careers.
Great group of guys, great leadership, fun to be around, fun to coach. They are one of a kind, and when you say that and it comes out of my mouth, that's real, meaning you don't just say that they come from a great family, they have great morals and ethics, but they do, and it's real. Couldn't say enough about them, and we'll have a banquet at the end of the year to honor them, and that's where all that will get said and demonstrated. There'll be a lot of fun there. But the other thing about this group is they're here to compete. So let your best wrestling shine right now.
Audrey Dahlgren, KSTK St. Louis. This is for Coach Brian Smith. Jaden was very genuine in his response to this being the last time he's going to wear the black and gold on his shoulders. For you as his head coach and being around him for so long, what's your reaction and emotion to coaching him in a weekend like this?
Let's have a good weekend. But no, I've known him since he was 4, hanging out in my office reading books, children's books, and he grew up going to the youth club in our wrestling room, and then I coached him in football. So we have a strong relationship. And he's a special young man, and what he's done, not only for wrestling, but for the University of Missouri. We went through some hard times, and here's this kid that just shines a light because he's willing to write songs and sing them for fundraisers and be an outspoken person of just how to live your life and making an Olympic team. And he's just a special young man that just does it the right way.
This question's for Tom Brands. Tom, you just talked about your recruiting class a little bit. The centerpiece of that class, Spencer Lee, suffered his first loss in his high school career on Saturday. Have you spoken with Spencer? It's probably one of the first big disappointments in his wrestling career. And what's your plan for him preliminarily going forward to next year in terms of a red shirt or not?
Did I misunderstand your question?
No, you didn't.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Okay. Well, first of all, one comment on that. Spencer Lee is a competitor. He's going forward, and he'll be just fine.
Dan Lobdell, Flow Wrestling. This one's for Coach Smith. You mentioned after Big 12s that you guys had some record-breaking performances this year at Scuffle and at Big 12s. Do you guys feel that you're going to need to tie a record this year as far as Minnesota's 10 All-Americans to get the national championship here?
Where are you at? Oh, say that again.
Do you think that you guys
Looking for you the whole time.
do you guys think that you're going to need to tie Minnesota's record of 10 All-Americans to get the national championship here?
This is John Smith.
I think you're probably right. I think we're going to need to count on all 10. I'm not sure where they place is going to make a big difference. So we have some numbers here that and we have positioned ourselves well after the Big 12, gave ourselves an opportunity, and that's all I was asking for, and they responded. So yeah, I think for us, we need to count on all 10. Anything less may be a little bit tough for us.
Any further questions for the head coaches? Go ahead.
Okay, Cal, this is Mike Finn. I know you've talked many times about this tournament moving on with the loss of Soriano, but you still have a relatively young team with Paul and Nickel and that type of thing. Can you talk about the mindset this team has gone through this year where you guys were on a roll, then you hit a roadblock because of this? Have you had to talk with them anything differently than you would have any other time this year?
Well, it's been a great year. We've had a lot of fun, had some great dual meets, and we have just an awesome group of guys, and most of them are back. We lose, I think, a 41-pounder. But yeah, we have some exciting years ahead of us, but this year's not over, right? We have as good a chance as anybody to win right now, and to win the national tournament, you got to wrestle great. If we wrestle great, we're going to win. If Ohio State wrestles great, they're going to win. Oklahoma State, Iowa, so that's fun. That's what we want. So we're not looking forward to next year yet.
Was there any doubt, though,